from America's finest city. This is Real Talk San Diego on ESPN 1700.
What's happening, gang? You are live back in the secret stash, tracking down some of the coolest local people. Maybe talking about some important local things. Who knows? Maybe catching a story or two in the process with the singular goal of leaving you a little better than how we found you today. I'm your host, Jesse Ibanez, co-founder of the Greenhouse Group, helping folks get into and out of homes right down here in the heart of San Diego. That's our game. So perhaps that's you. Go ahead and track us down at thegreenhousegroupinc.com for a little bit more information about who we are and what we do. However, in the studio today, we got a couple local powerhouses to be able to tackle some stuff that's coming up in the news recently. And I'm very pleased to announce that we've got David Foley and daughter Erin Foley, both from David W. Foley Attorney, in the house. Thank you so much for joining us, gang.
Thank you, Jesse.
That was an amazing clap there, David. That was a good golf clap. You golfer? That was good.
Yes, I am.
Say what's up to your fans. Say what's up to your fans.
Hey, fans. Nice to see you today.
Very cool. Flanked, of course, to your right by Roberta Robinson and Daniel Wilson. By the way, another family. You're the son, right?
I am.
This is from Robinson and Wilson, A-Law Corporation. Welcome, Roberta and Daniel. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We're really pleased to be here. It's fun to be on the radio.
Very cool. Well, good. Thank you. Glad to have you. I wanted to get you in for a couple topics that you might say isn't the most common dinner topic, right? People aren't jumping to talk about death and life and all the points in between. But you guys are local specialists in estate and life planning and then probate.
Correct.
And if you've been paying attention to the news lately, man, some of our celebs are in some hot waters. Well, I shouldn't speak so specifically about them. You might say the fallout of their untimely passing, and then families have been in the spotlight. I'm talking, of course, about like Robin Williams and the family, Bobby Christina, right?
Exactly.
Horrible. And a couple of, so I'm just curious, like, maybe get the water chummed up a little bit. Like, have you guys paid attention to these stories?
Yes.
So with your expertise, and I'll start with you guys over here, like, Roberta, what do you think about what's going on with that? Like, let's start with Robin Williams.
Oh, I miss Robin Williams. It was so sad to hear about it. And I understand from Daniel here that there's a problem with the distribution of his personal effects.
Imagine that.
Yeah. Danny, what is the problem?
Well, Robin Williams had his estate plan set up, but when they talked about the personal effects, it wasn't specifically spelled out within the documents. So now his kids are fighting with his former wife, and they're just having all kinds of court issues, and now they're spending all this money in litigation when it could have been simply figured out in Robin Williams' lifetime if he wrote down a list of his assets and who should get them.
Which is remarkable, too, because you think of someone with the ability of Robin Williams. Of course, you know, I'm sure he had a cadre of people that were running around taking care of his stuff, and it's not like the guy was broke. Right. You know, he had a lot of assets, you might say. And so isn't it interesting that I'm sure he had a trust set up, like you said, but it just, even that wasn't enough.
Right, and that brings
it still
us
left gaps.
The biggest really takeaway from all of this is actually maybe either write it down, or the best thing is really just to talk to your family about who gets what, how the plan's going to work, and if necessary, bring everyone in together with your estate planning attorney and hash it out in your lifetime so you don't spend all these tens of thousands of dollars on lawyers' fees trying to figure it out after the fact.
It's like that's the whole reason why you invested in the first place was to have it.
Right.
So what's the lesson then? So I mean, you hear, so it's so often that you hear people say, oh, you know, they got saddled with probate because they didn't take the time to go get a trust. So these guys actually had a trust set up and there were still gaps. So in retrospect now, what can we learn from this?
Well, the biggest thing to avoid probate is set up your estate plan, but also make sure it's a plan that would work. So in our practice, we talk to the people. They have these pie-in-the-sky ideas of what they want to have happen, but if it's not going to work, we'll make sure we create it so that it does work.
Now, Erin, what do you think from your side of stuff over at estate planning and life planning perspective? Like, if you could maybe, you know, wave the magic wand and go back and drop into this conversation before it happened, right? What kind of advice would you give now in retrospect?
I think what Daniel's referring to with Robin Williams is the personal effects, the furniture and furnishings, the contents of the home. It's pretty impossible, I would think, to make an itemized list of everything you own and designate a specific beneficiary for that item. But you could, you could start if you were older in age, you might start giving some of your personal effects away while you're living to different family members. We have some clients who put Post-it notes, on different items and say, this will be for my daughter, my son. You can easily, just start a list. There's no deadline. There's no magic way to do it. You could just, write a list and keep a going list of how you want to give your items to, away and to whom. You can also just a clause that says all of my personal effects, all of my furniture or furnishings will go to X, Y, and Z. And maybe even set up a system of how they choose.
I love that thought. And what's coming up for me is that it's like with most people, the resolution here is Craigslist, garage sale, and free cycle.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, because per people's furniture probably isn't but when it's Robin Williams, I'm sure he has like these amazing pieces.
Sure.
I'm totally guessing right now. Who knows? He could have been like Mark Cuban with an empty living room for his whole life, for all I know. But it sounds like this is sort of the issue.
Yeah, but you'd be surprised at death what that brings out in people that you wouldn't expect, the emotion, and they can be fighting over a cheap couch just because there's a power play among siblings. So, you just...
The mine complex.
Yeah.
Mine.
Yeah. And as a parent, you think, oh, that's the last thing I want my kids to be fighting over. So, they should just talk to the attorney and say, what do you think is the best course? What's the best way to communicate this?
David, anything to add?
Well, yeah, Jesse, probate is to be avoided because it's so expensive. Here's an extreme example. A couple of decades ago, a man named John Paul Getty died. I think we know who John Paul was, billionaire, apparently. Well, his estate went to probate, and the attorney fees were $28 million.
Jeez. Wow.
Outlandish. Well, the executor appealed that. It went all the way to the California Supreme Court. And the executor said, we could have hired 10 of the best law firms and biggest law firms in California, and the fee would not have been that big. And the court said, tough luck. In California, the fee is based on a percentage of what you are worth. So in spite of his billions, the heir still suffered quite a loss.
Where does that money go when it goes to the state?
Well, it goes to the attorneys and the executor primarily. The public think it goes to the state and costs, but the fees involved take up a big part of the probate costs.
Damn. I think we're all in the wrong business, huh?
Well, we're in the right business then.
Yeah, fair enough.
You are.
Yeah. Well, good. Yeah, so I know you mentioned Bobby Christina, Erin.
Yeah.
So, God, I mean, I hate to talk about such downer issues here to kind of chum the waters a little bit, but these are telling because we might not know as much about the private affairs of the average people, but it seems like when you're a celebrity, everything gets broadcast out over everybody. So at least let's maybe take a lesson to learn from, right?
Yes, and I don't know where they established residency. I'm sure Whitney Houston had homes in California, New York, and I feel like New Jersey might have been their permanent residence. So possibly the estate plan was made, according to New Jersey law. But I just thought it was interesting because Bobby Christina outlived her mother. I'm sure she was the heir. Well, Bobby Christina had no children, and we don't know if she was married. This boyfriend claims they were married. So who's Bobby Christina's heir? Is it her dad, Bobby Brown, or is it her Whitney Houston's, sisters and brothers and mother? So I'll be interested to see what what that estate plan said and what the
and is that public information? How everything gets broken up like that?
When there's a probate, it's public, and everything that's filed is public. And I'm going to put in a word here for our San Diego probate court. We'd have gone digital in the last 2 years, I think.
Wow.
As led by one of our esteemed judges. He got us to be all digital.
Does that actually get a official golf clap? Yeah? Okay.
What does that mean that it's digital?
Thank you.
It means that we actually file from our computers in the office instead of having one of these little cars buzzing around a messenger service taking documents here and there. The court is far more efficient than it used to be because everything is all lined up in their computers. Sometimes we had to walk in with copies of documents that the court wasn't able to find. We have telecourt now where we talk to judges over the phone. So I'm going to say that our probate system in California has been greatly improved.
But what it also means is that probate is public, so everything that is filed, you could simply go online to your computer and pull down every single document that's on there that has names, assets, addresses, all that information. Whereas if you do set up an estate plan in your lifetime, nothing is public. It's all private. No one knows about it. It can't be found online anywhere.
Not all living trusts are filed with the court, but all wills are supposed to be when there's a death. So if you're asking, could the public pull these documents? That's how the media knows about these, lineages and what happens at a celebrity's death, because they'll go to the court and pull a copy of the will.
And now what comes as a surprise to people is even if there is a trust, after a death, a copy of the trust needs to be sent to all the heirs at law and the beneficiaries.
For them to protest, if that's
they
possible?
They have 120 days to protest. And when they first passed this law, I thought that was outrageous, that now all of a sudden this private document is somewhat revealed to the family.
Right.
But I think in the long run, it really does prevent litigation, that everything is put up front. Anybody has complaints, they better say it now.
Very good contribution. Anything we left on the table here, gang? Do we officially go through all the dirty laundry of our poor befallen celebrities?
No. I think
we even brought in a historical reference there.
Absolutely.
That was amazing.
Right.
I'm going to give you a point for that one. That was good in the stash. Gang, you can see, water now officially chummed. Why we brought in some local powerhouses. Of course, I'm talking about Roberta Robinson and son Daniel Wilson. They're over at trustlaw.us, right?
Correct.
Check them out. Or you can call them the old-fashioned way at 858-485-1990. We're going to learn more about this gang in a little bit. And flanked also, of course, by David Foley and beautiful daughter Erin over there at CaliforniaLivingTrusts.com. Or you can call them the old school way at 619-284-2444. Coming up, gang, we're going to start to get our teeth dug in a little bit deeper about exactly what you need to be doing before the you-know-what hits the you-know-where, and then potentially what has to happen afterwards if you're in that unforsaken situation where it didn't quite get done, or it didn't get done correctly.
That's right.
Like is the case we just talked about. Coming right back. Real Talk Radio San Diego. You're in the stash, baby. We'll be right back.